So today's video is an intro into SISU workouts, which are unique in the sense that they're flexible. So they work for you, whoever you are, whatever your body shape, body type, motivations. They're adaptable. So they have multiple diverse exercises, and they're endurable. And this is probably critical, is I've been coaching for nearly 20 years, and in the physical frame of coaching, okay, working with executives, okay, C-suite, senior leaders in corporate, so people are always in a chair, okay, very sedentary. I started working with rugby athletes and the rugby framework. Some of those are aspiring Olympians, aspiring pros. Some of them are retiring Olympians and pros. And some of them were like at national level, at their age grade. Might have been university national level, for example. And then others came out of the football arena. So you have same but different motivations, but you have different skill sets, different agility requirements, and through to endurance. Okay, I did a lot of my own endurance running, so half marathons, then what I call baby triathlons, so the Olympic format triathlons, and then beyond that into crazy endurance stuff, so mountain marches and desert marches, for example. And then generations. Okay, a lot of us give up on workouts because we think we're too old. So you got 20s, 30s, 40s, you know, and over 50. Here's an interesting thing for you. I went over 50. I had to start working out. I'd turned into one of those people. I was turning to one of those people who says, I'm too old, let's give up on life. And that doesn't sit well in here. So I went to a gym, got myself back to a base level, and I enjoyed it. But what I worked out was the gym is often a one size fits nobody solution. So it got me partway to where I wanted to go. But it got me big, it got me strong, but didn't get me fit. So back to designing my own workouts, SISU workouts, and now for most of the last year, I've been walking my own walk. And the purpose of this video is to share some of the secrets of SISU workouts, particularly how you set up, and maybe dispel some myths on the way through. Okay, so let's just start up with a bit of myth busting, if you like. So generic workouts have been around forever. Okay, you can go back, so I generally tend to think pre-globalization, modern globalization, so from around about the mid-80s to pre is before the mid-80s, and post after the mid-80s to now. And if you look back across time, let's go from, say, mid-80s all the way back through to the late 1800s, there were people doing exercise regimes in one form or another, in people achieving athletically or endurance-wise as much or more as we can do today. Now, think about that, because that's where a lot of my study went, is in the post-globalization era when everything was marketed and punched out to you, whether it's equipment, supplements, clothing, kind of lost our way a bit, right? And then we get into the what I call the alpha personality type workouts, boot camps, concentrated, hard yakka, male testosterone fueled activities that punched us all the way through globalization, extreme commercialization, into the world we live in today, where we've almost got a whole generation just given up on exercise. Now, coaches are part of the problem. So there's an exclusion zone. As coaches, we need to actually do our homework on what we're asking people to do, not just jump on the one size fits nobody bandwagon. Influencers, right? I'm not an influencer. I never try to be influencers. Be careful who your influencers are. Choose them carefully, okay? And ask yourself, why are they selling you stuff, okay? You see brand advertising. Here's a product, here's a personality, right? 1 + 1 does not equal 2 in this case. You really have to look at what are you using, doing, or putting in your system. All right. So there are things out there called books. You can open a book, read, which is the way I did it old school back in the days. Right. Found 2, 3, 4 sources of information, tested everything on myself, you know. So be careful of your influences. And I speak to you from a place of authenticity, because there isn't anything I haven't tried, mostly legally. But equally, there's a lot of things I've thrown away. And I've even tested SISU workouts to failure in know that where I need help or supplementary activity to boost the program. So exclusion zones can be coaches, can be influencers, right? Can be the cost of getting to a gym, right? My last gym, $150, $60 a month. That's a lot of cheddar over the year, right? And gyms rely heavily on subscriptions. So if you don't go, you're not getting your money back, right? But they did have good instructors. Now that's the thing. I was paying for quality of instruction. Okay, so it was good, but it wasn't getting me where I wanted to go. So your workout's got to get you where you want to go. And then there's the $10 gym, right? You go in there, they're noisy, dirty, smelly, right? You've got 300 people just use the same bit of equipment and never clean it. And that's how we get to situations like COVID, right? I might sound a bit disparaging. I really don't like gyms. I like the outdoors. If I can exercise outdoors, that would be my first up choice, okay? In the water, on the water, in the forest, on the lake, out on the streets, you know. Grew up in a slightly mildly ghettoized environment where it was a concrete jungle. So you can always find something. This is the thing about SISU workouts: adapt for your environment and train with what your environment gives you. Other exclusion zones that become kind of part of the blame game, why we don't look after ourselves. Too much time at work, well, stop it, right? Look after yourself. Self-love is not selfish, right? It's important. Take a break, get off your desk, right? And go and move. Movement is magical. The other things we blame is our boss, right? I bet your boss, if in their position of power, I've seen plenty of them will go for a workout, right? So 1, don't be that kind of boss. 2, right? Don't blame your boss for not looking after yourself. And then what other exclusion zones are there? Just accessibility, geographical accessibility to something that you believe you need to buy into to be better off physically. So those are some of the natural exclusion zones. And the reason I'm throwing those out there is because I'm going to show you in a minute how you could set yourself up for a SISU workout that doesn't need big budget, okay? Isn't really influenced by influencers. It's a fundamental understanding of body mechanics, what I call your ABC: agility, balance, coordination. And lastly, you can have fun with these. You can do it with a mate. You can do it at your home on your own, whatever space you got. You can see my prison yard garden back here, right? Have fun with them. Enjoy your workout mindset. If you enjoy your workouts, you're going to do a lot more, right? And you're going to get a lot more out of it. Okay, so let's get into some basic setup rules and routines. First up, as we go into this, remember, I'm not bagging other forms of exercise, okay? If you've got something you enjoy, if it's aerobics, if it's weightlifting, if it's Tai Chi or something, whatever it is, going for a walk, I still think going for a walk is one of the best forms of exercise, right? But remember, walk with purpose, not just lollygagging up the road, all right? Just do them. Get out and do them. If you're enjoying it, get after it, because enjoyment is one of the critical factors in sustainable and what I call SISU workouts. Enjoyment is a critical factor. All right, so I'm not bagging other things. What I'm doing here is helping you set up, right? So you can remove some of the exclusion zones and remove some of the reasons not to look after yourself, okay? Adaptable, flexible, and durable. Okay, think about that. So my favorite is always gravity. Okay, no equipment here, just me, the sky. Okay, so we know simple gravity exercise, push-ups, for example, it's working with gravity. All right, there we go, squats, working with gravity. Gravity is a force to be reckoned with. Okay, So if you've got nothing else, find a way to work with gravity. Gravity is a force to be reckoned with. And I have a theory. Now, I haven't academically researched this or proved it. That's why I'm saying it's a working hypothesis, okay? All the years I did gravity-based exercises, right? I'd fatigue, then fail before I injured myself. Think about that. Fatigue, then fail before I injured myself. Every time I went in the gym, right, and we're all pumping, okay, music's loud, put another plate on, okay. If you are not careful, right, it's very easy to put another plate on, go a bit too far, and damage muscle mass, tendons, ligaments, whatever. If you are in the gym, think about your outcomes, think about what you're trying to get to, and if you have the privilege of time, budget, or emotion, get a decent instructor, okay? Really very important. Right, I'm not going to name strength training programs, but there's some out there I've watched people ruin themselves in the pursuit of numbers of reps or whatever. So be very careful. Work with gravity. Gravity is a force to be reckoned with. Equally, it will test your posture. So, you know, we want to be, right, I can see in the camera here, okay, always work on posture. You see it with gymnasts, you see it with dancers. They're super, super disciplined around posture. Open your chest up, open your lungs up, okay, spine. For years, since the 80s, we've been obsessed with six packs. What about the backpack, right? This is where your central nervous system exists, okay? Think about that. We talk about core, obsessed with this, right? Beauty pageant here. This is functional, this is life. Your hips are nice and square. Okay, if you've got hip damage, I've worked with veterans who've got hip damage, had to have hip injuries. Don't give up, right? Square off, okay? Your hips are there. Hips keep your spine in line. Spine in line is an essential. It runs all the way up to your neck. Okay, keep your shoulders nice and flexible. All right, and then feet. I can see my feet. Okay, let me give you a clue. Your feet are at the bottom of your legs. They've been there all your life. All right, with your feet, okay, I've worked out over time. I used to like having them pointing straight forward like railroad tracks, but I think a little bit of turnout, right, maybe around 5-1, something like that, not 10-2 or 2:45, but somewhere between 5-1, right, or just straight forward, parallel, somewhere in that range is a good space for your feet to be because it allows for maximum flex. Okay, so number one rule, okay, if in doubt, work with gravity. Find and look after your posture. Number two, clothing. All right, I'm outdoors, got a big baldy head these days. Okay, get a hat, keep the sun off your head if you can. Okay, if you can be outdoors but in shelter, that's good. Okay, don't get huge amounts of massive sun exposure, but it is nice to be outdoors when you can work out. All right, and then clothes. Not gonna pitch you any clothes. Find clothes you like. Holy moly, man. Spent a fortune on clothes. Find clothes you like. I don't care if you work out in your pajamas, right? If you're happy, right, do it. Now, there are modern fabrics that do help. Okay, mostly poly cotton mixes. Okay, if you can afford, this is the only thing I'm going to say, if you can afford PFAS-free clothing, get after it. Okay, look up, like with your influencers, look up where you get your clothes from. Okay, I like smart wool socks because they're wool. Wool's a natural substance. If you can't afford PFAS-free, consider where you're buying your clothes from. Okay, and ask yourself, what's your preferred brand or manufacturer putting into the clothing? I'm going to stop that there. But it's really important. If it's comfortable, right? I see loose fit. I don't like tight fit. I've never really liked tight fit clothing. I'm a big unit, right? I feel weirdly strangulated in tight clothes, right? But some people, I see skinny units, you know, racing snakes, right? Or people are super toned like the skinny stuff, right? Because we can see all their body contours. That's fine. Do what you like. Get after it. But I think outside of clothes that you like, footwear is a big deal. Okay, I'm not showing you the brand, I'm showing you the type, right? Now I'm laughing, right? Because these are manky old camp shoes, okay? And I train in these. I don't buy freaking $100, $200 training shoes. I don't. I did, okay? But the thing is with footwear, look after your feet. Okay, when you've worked out, dry your feet, clean your feet, right? Footwear doesn't solve all your problems, but if you pick bad footwear or footwear that you do not like, it's going to cause you issues and it's going to degrade your motivations. I'll let you into a secret. Once upon a time, I couldn't even afford, didn't have the money to buy cool looking, trendy footwear, right? My mates were after it, richer families, walking around in this cool stuff. Okay, couldn't afford it. I spent a lot of time running around in old combat boots, okay, because I could just, that's it. It was a budget thing, right? Couldn't afford to wear the stuff, couldn't afford brands. So I had a pair of old combat boots, and for a few years, whilst I got into testing footwear, this is the trigger for testing footwear, I would do like 6, 7, 8 mile runs in combat boots. You know what? It worked, okay? Is it sustainable? Who knows? But it worked for a few years. Okay. Actually, the one thing I would be careful of, because I also have done barefoot experiences. I used to train in flip-flops, barefoot shoes. You can work out who they are. Okay. And I've even done, I think the longest distance is a half marathon in barefoot shoes, and I did it consistently over time. Be cautious with barefoot. If you've been sedentary, if you've been in office, comfortable lifestyle, and you suddenly leap into barefoot stuff, you can break bones, right? You can damage your feet. If you want to go barefoot, right? I know people, I had a mildly Nordic upbringing, friends of mine, South African upbringing, running around in bare feet as a kid is what you did. Some of the Polynesian rugby players, barefoot is good, it's fun, it engages you with the earth. But if you've never done it, step into it cautiously. Okay, what's next on the agenda? So we've done, we had a little chat about uniqueness of SISU workouts. Remember, flexible, adaptable, and durable, or however you want to wrap it, that's fine. But there's some of your root rationale in those. We've talked about exclusion zones and the blame game and what stops us moving, whether it's our work-life balance or cost or accessibility. And we've talked about gravity, force to be reckoned with. If you're in doubt, work with gravity, do something and do the things you enjoy, and then get your clothing right. So this is a fairly broad spectrum of, that's a fairly broad spectrum of things to consider. But remember, coming back at this fundamental component, just a reminder, we're trying to remove those exclusion zones and come all the way back to understanding around body mechanics in things we can do with a no to low budget environment. Okay, and remember, I have tested this. Yeah, I've been working out consistently since I was 18, and I'm now over 50. Right, I might not have youth on my side. I'm certainly not going to win any style contests, but in terms of fundamental wellness, resilience, and sustainable movement, I got your back. Okay, so let's start with music. Okay, I love music, right? Music is my therapy. It's my main source of entertainment. Okay, if I'm doing endurance, long distance, whatever, rowing, running, hiking, I will have nothing in my ears. I don't want anything in my ears. Okay, so that's it. I like the sounds of nature. I like to engage my surroundings. A lot of people use music. Okay, that is okay. I'm not going to go too deep into music. If music motivates you, get after it. If it makes you happy, allows you to sustain, so be it. But here's something I want to tell you. Music can be an exclusion zone. If you're in a third-party environment, the studies out there on music fundamentally tell us two things. One, when people hear music, remember, music is older than language. When people hear music, okay, our brains start to fire up, all sides of our brain, all hemispheres, front and back, east and west, left and right, however you frame it. they all light up, they all start firing, all those synapses start firing, right? Music's really cool, it's magical, okay? However, whilst there's extensive research out there on music, what it cannot do is tell you how you're going to react or respond to it. Think about that. How will you react or respond to it? So if you're in a third-party environment and you just like shy away, it might be the music or it might be the noise. Okay, if that's your only choice, find a way to get in there and don't let that drive you away. Okay, one of the reasons I don't like gyms is they're just too loud, too noisy, and the music is, again, one size fits nobody solution, and often drives me out of there. At least if I got something like this, I can pick my own music to keep me motivated to keep going. And I'd rather have good music and work out on my own than not work out, you know? So music is there. Next thing we're going to look at is tension bands. Okay, I'm not showing you the brand. Couple of things in tension bands. You can do a lot with these, okay, that we don't realize they're really good for long range movement, yeah, okay, and they can really help us with our movement discipline, as well as increase strength, as well as increase flexibility. Can be used many ways. Now, what I've deliberately done, because right now I'm only working with light ones, so this is an extra light, and this is a lightweight tension band. They're cheap, they last forever. I got loads of these, just because I get addicted to buying them, right? But they are cheap, they last forever. If you've got a travel routine, busy life, you can drop one of these in your travel bag. You know, if you work on a rig, gas platform, you're an office, corporate exec, supply chain person who's always on the road, you can take these into your hotel, work out in private. They're super lightweight, okay? They are magical, magical bits of kit, and they last forever. Right, I'm talking a couple of quid for these individually, a couple of quid, and you can get years of work out of them. Okay, now obviously the more you use them, they wear and tear, and you don't need to knock the back out of it. You don't need to have heavy bands. You can use light bands. This is a light one, and you can use extra light ones, and they're really good. These are a simple example on flexibility, discipline, as well as strength creation. Now this is one of my favorites. Okay, this old jump rope here. Okay, I bought this in the mid-90s. About 10 bucks. It's about, I don't know, 10, 20 pounds back then. So roughly 10, 20 bucks. Think about that. Look at that. This is an old boxer's rope. Okay. Now, jumping rope requires effort. Why? Because it requires a bit of agility, a bit of balance, and a bit of coordination. Okay. Now, oftentimes we dismiss it because of the dominance of certain athletic influences in our lives, or it might be dismissed because it's what high school girls do. Right? Fortunately, I got access to people who are boxers. Boxers use it, semi-pro, pro boxers, or amateur pro boxers. They use it. I've tried it with rugby players and football players. Absolutely hopeless, right? But it's a great exercise. Now, the reason I like this one, you see here, it's an old leather, a bit of old leather rope. Okay, even after thousands, tens of thousands of skips, it's still intact. Wooden handles with ball bearings in them. Now, if you can find someone to make one of these for you, do it. Think of the investment in that, 20 bucks, 20 quid, right? And it's been nearly more than 30 years I've used this thing, and it travels everywhere, super lightweight. Okay, and then if you very simply, you adjust them. Okay, it's a bit too long, right? I want it shorter so I can get good speed of travel, good speed movement from it. Okay, so you can just tie very simple figure of 8 knot in it. Okay, just to shorten the length a bit, right? If you're shorter than me, I'm 6'4", you can put 2 or 3 of those in. And if you shorten the length, you get a bit more speed on the jump. Okay, so what we've just looked at there in terms of equipment beyond clothing, remember, if you work with gravity, that's great. But tension bands can help with strength gains, can help with flexibility and agility discipline, right? You don't have to smash it. You don't have to get super heavy ones. Okay, start with extra light or light ones, whatever works for you. Music can be our friend, but if it's not chosen carefully, right, it can also be unfriendly and drive us away from our training regime. And then the good old jump rope. Okay, jump ropes, so much fun. Okay, and even at the age of 50, actually I'm older than 50, but if you get on the rope and you can keep it going for a few minutes, you get your heart rate up, get a bit of a sweat on, and over time, as you get better, okay, it can supplement all those things you like, whether it's running, rowing, hiking. You can have fun with your kids, or just on your own at home. Okay, go to SISU Workouts. Remember, flexible, enduring, adaptable. It can be personalized for you, budget friendly, environment friendly, and if we do them properly, we can teach ourselves a lot about our own body mechanics. Whew. So, bit out of puff from the rope there, but that shows you how quickly it can get your heart rate up and get you going. So once again, I'm Angus. If you do want Angus coaching on the SISU way, whether it's life coaching, leadership coaching, or physical coaching, or just direction finding, which is where I specialize, reach out, contact me. Otherwise, get yourself set up for your SISU way and your basic body mechanics.